The bus stopped in front of the training ground. The air was full of noise, shouting, and the heavy sound of boots hitting the ground. New recruits jumped out one by one, nervous and excited. Among them was a young woman named Emma Rodriguez. She stepped down slowly, her back straight, eyes focused. She didn't smile. Didn't look scared either, just calm and quiet. Emma wore the same uniform as the others, but something about her was different. She moved quietly with control, like she had done this before. But most people didn't notice that. They noticed her size. No, she was small, slim, and didn't talk much right away. Some of the male recruits started whispering, "Look at her. She's gonna cry the first day," one said. "Why'd they even let her in? She looks like a librarian." Another laughed. Emma heard them but said nothing. She just kept walking, always keeping her left shoulder covered with her hand or bag. Drill instructors yelled commands. Recruits rushed to form lines. Emma moved fast, following orders perfectly, but even then, some laughed behind her back. They called her Ghost Girl because she didn't speak. They said she was too soft for the battlefield. Emma didn't respond. Her face stayed calm like water, her eyes sharp like a blade. After registration, the recruits were taken to their bunks. Emma was placed in a room with 7 others. Some ignored her, a few were curious, but one girl, Tanya, didn't like her at all. "She thinks she's better than us," Tanya said loudly. "Won't even talk." Emma sat on her bed, organizing her things neatly. She had a small notebook, a picture of her family, and a few letters, all folded with care. But most interesting of all was her shoulder. Even when she changed into sleep clothes, she kept her left shoulder covered. No one could see what was there. Some thought maybe it was a scar or maybe even a burn. But the truth was more mysterious than any of them could imagine. That night the recruits were given orientation. They were told how hard the next few weeks would be. They would wake up at 4 a.m., train until sunset, and learn discipline. Many looked nervous, some even scared. Emma just nodded once. Already prepared, the next morning the real training began. Running, crawling, shouting, climbing, lifting. The boot camp wasn't easy. People fell, gave up, cried, and screamed, but Emma didn't. She stayed silent, followed every command, and kept up with the best. Still, the jokes didn't stop. "She's a robot," one guy said. "Bet she got here by mistake," another laughed. But their laughs turned smaller each day. One evening, during uniform inspection, a drill sergeant paused at Emma. He stared at her boots, perfectly clean, her belt, perfectly adjusted, her bed and made with sharp corners. Then he looked into her eyes, and for a moment his voice softened. "What's your background, Rodriguez?" he asked. Emma paused, then simply replied, "Army family, sir." He nodded slowly, almost like he knew something more. He didn't push further, just said, "Carry on." Later that week, during a push-up drill, a recruit named Jay tried to tease her. He got close and whispered, "Bet you're hiding a Hello Kitty tattoo." He tried to pull at her shirt. Emma grabbed his wrist mid-air. Fast and tight, she looked at him and said, "Don't do that again." Her voice was cold but calm. Not angry, just firm. Jay pulled back, surprised. He didn't mess with her after that. Word started spreading. Some began saying she might have military connections. Others thought maybe she was special forces, undercover, but no one knew for sure. And no one could see under that shoulder patch. As days passed, Emma kept proving herself, not with words, but with actions. She was faster than expected, smarter during strategy drills, and always one step ahead. Even instructors began to notice her quiet power. But no one said it out loud. Every night Emma sat on her bed, quietly writing in her notebook. She never talked about her past, never joined group gossip. She was like a shadow, always there but just out of reach. The girl they mocked was becoming something more. Not everyone saw it yet, but the change had started. And soon, the whole camp would learn why the commander stood silent the day her tattoo was finally revealed. At boot camp, every day was a test of the body, of the mind, and of the heart. But for Emma Rodriguez, there was one more test, and silence in the face of daily mockery. And she passed that test better than anyone expected. Her silence made others nervous. They didn't understand her, and people fear what they don't understand. Instead of respecting her, they mocked her even more. "She's probably a mute," Tanya laughed one morning in the mess hall. "She probably got in through some family favor." Jay added with a mouthful of eggs. Others giggled, looking at Emma, waiting for a reaction. But Emma simply ate her food quietly, eyes on her tray. She never ate fast, never ate slow. Everything she did had rhythm, like she had been trained for it long ago. Every evening after training, when others were stretching or joking, Emma sat alone. She cleaned her boots, fixed her uniform, and read a small worn-out manual one night. A recruit snuck up and snatched the manual from her hands. "Let's see what secret book Ghost Girl reads all the time," he said. But when he opened it, his smile faded. Inside were pages filled with coded markings and strange symbols. Not just notes but military codes. He handed it back quickly. Eyes wide, Emma took the book, said nothing, and went back to reading. That night the teasing didn't stop, but it grew quieter. More unsure, the next morning was weapons assembly class. Recruits were asked to take apart and reassemble standard rifles. Most struggled with the small parts. Emma didn't. She completed the task in 1 minute and 45 seconds, faster than anyone, including the instructor's assistant. Nobody clapped, but everyone stared. How did she do that? Someone whispered, "She must have practiced before. Probably cheated," Tanya said bitterly. "No way she learned that here," another said. Emma just cleaned the table and left the room. She didn't smile, didn't brag, she never did. But some didn't like how she kept winning. So they decided to break her spirit one evening. They waited for her in the laundry area. It was late and the lights were dim. Emma walked in with her clothes folded neatly. Before she could reach the machine, a recruit pushed her from behind. Her clothes fell, water splashed, and someone laughed. "Still quiet, huh? You think you're better than us?" one said. Another pointed to her left shoulder, still covered by her shirt. "What's under there, princess?" "A teddy bear tattoo?" They tried to pull at the fabric, but Emma stepped back fast. She didn't punch, didn't shout. Instead, she looked each of them in the eyes. Calm, controlled, and fearless. "You should stop," she said softly. Her voice was like cold air in winter, quiet, but sharp. The room fell silent before anyone could say another word. A shadow entered the laundry room. It was Sergeant Hale, one of the most feared drill instructors. He had heard the voices. He looked at the group, then at Emma. "What's going on here?" he asked. No one answered. Emma simply saluted, picked up her clothes, and walked out. The next day, 2 of the recruits from the laundry room were removed from the unit. No reason was given. Their names were erased from the training list. "Just gone," the whispers started again. "Maybe she is protected," someone said. "Maybe she's not even supposed to be in regular training," said another. But no one said anything to her face anymore. Even Tanya kept her distance. Instructors began watching Emma more closely. One quietly pulled her file. But large sections were redacted, blacked out, classified. They couldn't find her full background, not even her previous assignment location. That evening, during lights out, Emma opened her notebook and wrote down just 3 lines. Then she closed it and placed it under her pillow. She laid down, eyes open in the dark. Outside, the wind was loud, but inside her heart everything was still. She didn't come to boot camp to prove anything. But now everything around her was shifting. She had become the mystery of the unit. Some feared her, some hated her, some began to respect her. But no one could ignore her anymore. And still no one had seen the tattoo, the one on her left shoulder, the one that would stop the commander in his tracks. That day was still coming, and nothing would be the same after it. The sun had not yet risen. The sky was still dark and the air was cold. Recruits stood in a shaky line, yawning and shivering. Most were half awake, rubbing their eyes, but Emma Rodriguez stood still, hands behind her back, already wide awake. It was day 19 of boot camp, and the real test had finally arrived. The obstacle course. The instructors called it the Beast. High walls, muddy pits, rope climbs, barbed wire, and cold water waited for them. It was not just a test of strength. It was a test of pain, fear, and heart. Recruits looked at the course with nervous eyes. Some whispered plans. Some stretched their arms. Emma said nothing. She just looked at the first wall, 10 feet high, smooth and cold. Then she slowly tied her hair, rolled her sleeves, and took a deep breath. The first whistle blew. Recruits ran, shouting, their boots thudding in the mud. Some slipped, others climbed with help. Tanya struggled on the first rope wall. Her hands shaking, Jay tripped in the mud, cursed, and got up again. And Emma moved like water. Fast, quiet, and without panic, she didn't waste a single step. At the high wall, she ran, jumped, and pulled herself up in one move. No grunting, no cheering, just action. One of the drill instructors watched her through binoculars. He turned to Sergeant Hale and said, "She's not normal." Hale nodded slowly. "She's trained before, but not here." Emma reached the monkey bars next. Others were shaking, falling into the muddy water below. Emma grabbed the first bar and swung across like a dancer. Her face showed no pain, only focus. The mud didn't bother her, the cold didn't stop her. By the time most recruits reached the halfway mark, Emma had already passed the fire pit and low crawl. Barbed wire scratched at her sleeves. Her shirt tore slightly, but she quickly adjusted it to keep her left shoulder covered. Always she protected that part of her body, no matter what. At the final water pit, Tanya slipped and cried out. Emma, who had just passed her, stopped for the first time. She turned around and reached out her hand. Tanya looked up, surprised. You're helping me?" she said. Emma didn't answer. She just nodded, pulled her up, and kept running. Tanya followed, silent now. The girl she once mocked was now her lifeline. They reached the finish line together. Emma didn't celebrate, didn't smile. She just walked to the side and waited. One by one, others crossed the line. Panting, some crying. The instructors recorded times. Emma had finished third, but without a single complaint or mistake. Her clothes were ripped, her boots muddy, but her posture was perfect. She stood like a soldier who had done this 100 times. Later that afternoon, while others were nursing blisters and sore muscles, Emma was helping clean the gear. One recruit finally asked, "Why are you even here? You already know this stuff." Emma looked at him, then at the gear, and said quietly, "Not everything is about proving strength." Then she picked up a heavy bag and walked away. That night, something strange happened. The instructors posted a training report. It listed the top performers in red. Emma's name was there, underlined, but next to her name was a small note. Background classified. Skill level advanced. The recruits saw it and stared. What did it mean? Why was her record locked? Some grew more curious, others more afraid. Tanya sat on her bunk, thinking about the moment Emma helped her. She whispered to Jay, "I think we made a mistake judging her." Jay didn't answer. He was too busy staring at Emma, who was writing again in that strange little notebook that night while the others slept. Emma sat near the window. She looked up at the stars. Her fingers touched the edge of her shoulder, the one she always kept covered. A scar ran across it just under the edge of the tattoo. A memory of something dark, something old, something she had never told anyone at boot camp. Emma didn't want attention. She didn't want revenge or praise. She only wanted to finish what she came here for, but the camp was waking up to her now. Her strength was no longer hidden. It had emerged, not with noise, but with power, quiet power, and still, no one had seen the full tattoo, the one the commander would soon recognize, the one that would change everything. The camp was changing. Emma Rodriguez was no longer a joke. She had become a mystery, a quiet storm in army boots. Some recruits respected her now. Others still whispered behind her back, but none could forget how she finished the beast faster than most. Without a single complaint, without a single drop of fear, yet not everyone was ready to accept her. Some couldn't handle being shown up by someone they once mocked. Jealousy is a slow poison, and it was spreading in the barracks. Tanya, once the loudest voice against Emma, had grown quiet since the obstacle course. She now kept her distance. But Jay, the same recruit Emma had warned in the laundry room, hadn't forgotten his embarrassment, and he wasn't done trying to break her. It was a cold Friday evening. Rain tapped against the windows as lights out approached. Most recruits were tired and sore, ready to sleep, but Jay had other plans. He had convinced 2 others, recruits who still disliked Emma, to join him. Their plan was simple: push her, provoke her, humiliate her, force her to fight back and get her punished or thrown out. Emma was sitting on her bunk, polishing her boots with care. She always did this before bed. Her routine never changed. She was calm, quiet, focused, until Jay walked over and kicked her boots across the floor. They hit the wall with a dull sound. The room went silent. Emma looked up slowly. Jay grinned. "Oops," he said. "Butterfingers." He bent down, picked up one boot and held it up. "You polish these like they're gold, ghost girl." Emma stood, took a step forward and held out her hand. "Give it back," she said quietly. Jay didn't. Instead, he turned the boot around and laughed. "You know, I think you're hiding something under that shoulder." He pointed at her covered left arm. "Why don't we all see what it is, huh?" One of the other recruits reached for her shoulder, but before his hand touched the fabric, Emma moved. She grabbed his wrist, twisted it gently but firmly, and pushed him back a step. Her other hand stayed by her side, relaxed. Her face was calm, but her eyes were different, sharp, cold like steel. "Don't touch me again," she said. Her voice was low, steady. No anger, no fear, only warning. The second recruit stepped back, rubbing his wrist, surprised. Jay's smile faded just a little, but he still tried to laugh. "Come on. It was just a joke," he said. "No joke," Emma replied. "Not tonight." At that moment, the door opened and Sergeant Hale walked in. His eyes scanned the room, the scattered boots, the frozen faces. He looked at Emma, then at Jay. "What's going on here?" he asked, voice hard. No one answered. Emma stood straight, hands behind her back. Jay stayed quiet, suddenly unsure. The sergeant looked directly at Emma. "Rodriguez," he said, "did someone touch you?" Emma paused, then shook her head. "No, sir," she replied. Hale narrowed his eyes. He stepped closer and said quietly, "Understood." He turned to the others. "You three, follow me," he barked. They obeyed without a word. The door closed behind them. The next morning, those three were no longer in the barracks. Their bunks were empty. No explanation, no goodbye, just gone. Like they never existed. The room was quieter after that. Even Tanya looked at Emma differently now. Not with hate, but something closer to fear. Later that day, Hale called Emma into his office. She entered and stood at attention. Hale didn't yell, didn't question her. He looked at a folder on his desk. Most of it was blacked out, pages marked classified. He looked up and asked, "Are you still cleared, Rodriguez?" Emma nodded once. "Yes, sir." Hale studied her face, then leaned back in his chair. "I figured," he said. Then he did something no one expected. He stood up and gave her a respectful nod. "Carry on, specialist," he said. Emma saluted, turned, and left the room. Outside, the sky was clearing. Light pushed through the clouds as Emma walked back to the barracks. She didn't smile, but something in her steps had changed. There was no need to hide anymore that night. She pulled out her small notebook and wrote just one sentence. "The storm is watching." Then she placed it under her pillow. They had pushed her to the edge, but she didn't fall. She stood stronger than before, and the tattoo on her left shoulder, anchor still hidden, still waiting, held the secret of why. The time would come when they'd all see it. And when they did, even the commander would be speechless. Sunday morning at boot camp was always quiet. There were no drills, no shouting, no running in circles, just the soft sound of shoes, the rustle of uniforms, and the distant birds. But this Sunday felt different. The whole camp felt like it was holding its breath. Emma Rodriguez was in the yard. Sweeping leaves, she preferred simple jobs. They gave her time to think, to breathe, to stay sharp without speaking. As she swept, she heard footsteps, slow and heavy. She turned and saw a tall officer in full uniform, standing near the trees, watching her. It wasn't just any officer. It was Commander Pierce, the top man on base. He didn't visit recruits often, only when something important needed his attention. He walked up to her, calm but direct. "You're Emma Rodriguez," he said. She stood straight, saluted, and replied, "Yes, sir." He looked at her for a long moment. His eyes weren't angry, but serious, and as if he was searching for something in her face. "Come with me," he said, and turned around. Emma followed without a word. They walked across the field, past the barracks, and into the main building. No one spoke. Even the guards at the door stepped aside without question. He led her into a small room. No windows, one table, two chairs. Inside the room was a file, thick and sealed. Emma sat down as the commander opened the file. He didn't ask questions at first. He just looked through the pages one by one. Much of it was blacked out. Top secret. But some names were still clear. A special task force. A joint mission overseas, a fallen captain. And then, Operative E. Rodriguez, clearance level 7. He closed the file and folded his hands. You weren't supposed to be on this base, he said. Emma remained silent. You were listed as inactive after the Kestrel operation, he continued. Emma looked up slowly. I requested reassignment. Sir, she said, his eyes narrowed. Why boot camp? He asked. Why come back here, with kids who mock you, with drills you already mastered years ago? Emma looked at him, calm as always. I wanted to start again, she said. Commander Pierce didn't laugh. He didn't smile either. Instead, he leaned forward, voice softer. Are you still cleared? He asked. Emma nodded. Yes, sir, I am. There was a long pause. Then Pierce stood up, walked to the corner, and opened a cabinet. Inside was a locked case. He entered a code, opened it, and took out a metal badge. He placed it on the table in front of her. It had a black eagle on one side and an old symbol, the same one inked on her hidden shoulder. This is your unit's mark, he said. Emma looked at it without blinking. I know what it means, she replied. He nodded. So do I, he said. Then he surprised her. He pushed the badge toward her and said, You don't have to prove anything here. Emma's hand didn't move. I'm not here to prove, she said. I'm here to remember. For a few seconds neither spoke. Only the soft hum of the room filled the silence. Then Commander Pierce stood tall. Very well. Specialist Rodriguez, he said with respect. You may carry on. Emma stood, saluted, and walked out of the room. As she passed the hallway, several officers noticed her. They didn't know her story, but they could feel something had changed. A new weight in the air. A quiet respect that followed her like a shadow. Back at the barracks, no one knew where Emma had gone. But when she returned, her posture was straighter, her steps firmer. Even Tanya watched her differently now, not with suspicion, but with silent curiosity. Maybe even admiration that evening after dinner. Emma sat alone under the training tower. She pulled out her notebook and wrote a name. It was the name of a soldier who once saved her life. A name only she remembered now. Then she turned the page and drew the black eagle. The same one hidden on her shoulder. She still kept the tattoo covered, not out of fear. But because its time hadn't come yet, Commander Pierce now knew who she truly was. He didn't need to see the ink. He had seen enough. And when the day came for others to see it, they too would understand. Emma didn't speak much. She didn't explain herself. But every step she took, every task she finished, spoke louder than any words ever could. In a place full of noise, she was the silent force. And the storm within her was just beginning to rise. The morning began with thunder. Dark clouds hung low over the camp, and rain tapped hard on the metal rooftops. Recruits woke up early, dressing quickly. They were told today's drill would be outside, no matter the weather. It was a full combat simulation, weapons, teamwork, and real pressure. Emma Rodriguez tied her boots in silence. Others moved around her, whispering about how cold it was. But Emma never complained. Her mind was already preparing in the briefing hall. Sergeant Hale explained the mission. 2 teams, opposite sides of the field. Objective: capture the flag and defend your squad. Mud, rain, and smoke grenades would make it harder. It was designed to create chaos. Recruits got excited. This was their chance to show off. Jay, who had returned weeks ago under supervision, smirked. Let's see if Ghost Girl can run in the mud, he said. Emma heard him, but kept her face calm. She adjusted her uniform, especially her left sleeve. The field was soaked, the grass slippery, and the trenches filled with water. Rain came down hard. But orders were orders. Whistles blew, and the teams charged into action, yelling, sliding, shooting blanks, throwing smoke. It was loud, wet, and wild. Emma moved like she was born in that storm. She didn't slip, didn't fall. She took cover behind trees, helped teammates, and gave silent signals. Her movements were clean, fast, almost too perfect. Then came the accident. A flashbang grenade, fake but still loud, exploded too close. Emma ducked and rolled into cover. but a sharp metal pole sticking from the ground caught her shoulder. Her uniform tore and the cloth dropped. For the first time, the left side of her upper arm was fully exposed. The battlefield noise faded. Eyes turned toward her and silence took over. There on her skin was a black tattoo, clean, sharp, official. It showed a black eagle holding lightning bolts, surrounded by a circle of stars. It was not an ordinary tattoo. It was the symbol of a classified strike unit, a team that didn't exist on public records. Only those with high clearance knew what it meant. Jay saw it first and his mouth opened. Tanya took a step back, eyes wide. Even Sergeant Hale, standing on the tower, saw and went quiet. He lowered his binoculars slowly. He had seen that mark before, long ago. In a report stamped eyes only, Emma noticed the silence. She stood, pulled her sleeve up to cover the mark, and kept moving. She didn't explain, didn't stop. She just continued the mission like nothing had happened, but everything had changed. Back at the barracks, whispers filled the air. Some tried to search the symbol online. Nothing came up, no results, no history. That made it even more mysterious, one recruit said. I think she was Black Ops, another replied. She's not one of us, she's way above. Even the most arrogant voices were now silent. That evening, Sergeant Hale held a private meeting with the other instructors. They asked him what he saw. He said only this: that tattoo belongs to someone who's done more than any of us. The next morning, at roll call, no one joked, no one teased, even Jay avoided eye contact. Emma stood at the front like always, but now, no one looked down on her. They looked up. She had said nothing for weeks. She never fought for attention, never told stories, but with one accident, her truth had spoken louder than any voice ever could. Commander Pierce watched from a distance. He saw the change in the unit. He knew it was coming. He had seen the tattoo long ago in secret reports, and now the others had seen it too. Emma walked through the base like usual. She still cleaned her boots, still wrote in her notebook. But people moved aside now. They watched with new eyes. Not just respect but wonder. She didn't wear her badge on her chest. She carried it in her skin, in the ink earned through missions no one could talk about, in scars hidden beneath her calm smile. The mark was out and there was no going back. But Emma didn't want to go back. She had come here for peace, for healing. Now they knew. Now they understood. And finally, they listened. The storm had passed, the rain was gone, but something still hung in the air, something heavier than clouds. It was the silence that came after truth, the kind that replaces judgment with respect. No one mocked Emma Rodriguez anymore. The tattoo had been seen, no one dared speak of it openly. They didn't need to. One look had said enough. Emma wasn't just another recruit. She was something else, something trained, tested, and trusted by a world they couldn't even see. She walked into the mess hall that morning like she always did. Calm steps, hands behind her back, no rush, no fear. But the room reacted differently now. Conversations stopped, heads turned, and chairs straightened. Not out of fear, but out of a quiet new respect. Jay, the loud one, the one who used to tease her the most, stood up as she walked past. He didn't say a word, but he gave a small nod. It wasn't an apology. It was something better, acknowledgement. Tanya sat at the far table watching Emma carefully. She remembered every joke she had made, every look she had given. Now she only felt shame. But she also felt something else, admiration. Later that day, the unit was split into squads for a tactical strategy challenge. Each team needed a leader. The instructors didn't assign one. They wanted the recruits to choose. At first, no one said anything. Then a soft voice rose from the back. I think Rodriguez should lead. It was Tanya. Heads turned, others nodded quickly. One after the other, Emma looked surprised. She had never asked to lead. She never wanted to be the center. But now the center had found her. She didn't speak right away. She looked at them, eyes calm, and gave a small nod. All right, she said. Let's begin. During the challenge, Emma gave orders quietly. She didn't shout, didn't bark commands. She pointed, used hand signals, and trusted her team. Her calm made them calm. Her focus made them sharp. No one questioned her, not once. They finished the challenge in record time. Even Sergeant Hale raised an eyebrow when the report came in. Your unit worked like a machine, he said. Emma replied. Machines break, sir. We work like people. That evening, the unit sat under the open sky. No drills, no lectures, just time to breathe. A few recruits sat near Emma, for the first time. By choice, Tanya sat beside her with a notebook. Teach me how to read maps better? She asked. Emma looked at her and smiled gently. Sure, she said, and opened the book. One by one, others joined. They listened, asked questions. Shared stories. Emma didn't speak much, but when she did, they listened. Every word felt earned, every silence felt full. Even Jay, the proud one, sat nearby. He didn't talk, just listened. Sometimes, that's more powerful than words. Commander Pierce watched from a distance. He stood at the edge of the hill. Arms crossed, he didn't need to interfere. He had seen transformations before, but this one was different. This wasn't about Emma becoming something new. It was about everyone else realizing who she already was. Emma wasn't trying to prove herself. She was just being herself, and that was enough. The next few days moved fast. Exercises became smoother. Teamwork improved. Emma didn't have to lead all the time, but when she spoke, people acted. Her presence had become a quiet anchor for the unit. She still cleaned her boots every night, still wrote in her notebook, still kept the tattoo covered, not out of fear, but because her respect was no longer based on the ink. It was based on action, on heart, on truth. One night after lights out, Tanya whispered across the room, Emma, yes? Are you proud of who you were? Emma thought for a long time before answering. I'm proud of who I'm becoming, she said. Then she turned on her side and the room went quiet. They had come to boot camp as strangers. Some came to prove themselves. Others to escape their past, but Emma, she came to remember who she really was. And without ever trying to lead, she became the one they all followed. Not by rank, not by command, but by choice.